Hello, YouTube. We are live here in Skyrim tonight for SSE, Skyrim Skirmish Entertainment. We're going to witness some real man-on-man action as we watch one of these fine fighters take a one-way trip to Pound Town. The rules are simple. No weapons, no offensive magic, only hand-to-hand combat, and maybe some thrown objects in there for the hell of it. Wow, we are sure in for a great show tonight, folks. Ain't that right, Mirror Flipped Me? You're so right, normally, but I have to ask, what sport are they even playing? It sort of seems like boxing, but the presentation is closer to pro wrestling. Sorry about that. Well, like I was saying, the use of healing spells and food is allowed. It's also important to note that this playthrough would not be possible without the use of mods, especially Higgs and Plank. These mods are essential to make Skyrim at all playable, let alone to do the sort of unarmed combat this video is focusing on.
But we are getting a little ahead of ourselves here. Our fighter, Mr. Macho Ulk Organ, really rolls off the tongue, has a long way to go to get to that headlining match against Alduin. And yes, I'm now his coach. Don't worry about it. You'd understand if you read the comics. Our journey begins with Ulk being executed for trying to smuggle crack over the border and walking straight into
that Imperial ambush.
Just as Ulk was about to be executed, a massive dragon appears. Our main challenger, Alduin. Then Ulk breaks free and rushes into the nearby tower with the Stormcloak soldier Ralof. Ulk gives them a playful little grab, but that soft-locks the game. So, after trying again, Ulk quickly decides to ditch Ralof because he's slow, and runs quickly through the town, greeting some of the townsfolk along the way. A real shame they all canonically die to the dragon. Ulk follows Hadvar, but he trips and faceplants into the hardwood floor before bouncing right back up and running. Then, at the fort, Ulk decides to go with Hadvar, because he has proven relatively capable, and I don't know, maybe he has an uncle with a useful shop or something. I don't know. Once inside, his already free hands gain the ability to pick things up and start looting. Now with some armor, as you can see, the technique here is lacking. He punches like a wet noodle, and misses every punch that wasn't. Real rookie moves if you ask me, but hey, everyone's gotta start somewhere. That pretty much is how the entire fort goes, until he reaches the spiders, where he finally does some damage. But he also angers Hadvar by trying to pull the arrow out of his frontal lobe, causing Hadvar to fight back, so Ulk leaves him to the bear. Outside the cave, Ulk speeds into town, grabbing the warrior stone along the way. Ulk greets some of the locals, taking his chance to get rid of all the excess clutter and litter and other odds and ends these slobs left lying around. Then he meets Hadvar's family, raids their pantry, and throws a fork into Hadvar's uncle's skull, which doesn't go down well. So Ulk flees to nearby Bleak Falls Barrow. The place itself is crawling with bandits that Ulk has to fight, and acts as good practice for form and technique, which is to have a really steep learning curve, since Ulk can't seem to get a hang of it. But before he can get too far along, he has to do a puzzle. But lucky for him, this puzzle uses pictures, so someone who's had as many concussions as he does surviving brain cells can figure it out. On the other side of the gate, he encounters an odd rat who seems to be making a break for it, and then some others he has to just fight. Now that he's fully in the dungeon, it's time for some real combat.
As Ulk makes his way through it, he comes across the claw door.
Not to brag, but I didn't even need to,
I mean, Ulk? Without looking at the little password sticky note on the claw itself solves it, you know. In the final room of the dungeon, there's some glowing text, which, since Ulk can't seem to read, is simply absorbed into his prefrontal cortex. But that woke up Grandpa, and he's got a belt. So, Ulk has to fight back. As you may have noticed, his traditional guarded boxing style stance is not working. I'll go into it more later, but punching with fists uses stamina, and is thus not optimal, so just take note of that. Outside the dungeon, Ulk runs into a random farmer, and because they become friends, they hang out, they play games, and he kills him. He snaps his neck. He takes his clothes and leaves the corpse. He leaves the clothes out front of Whiterun. Inside the city, he stays at a tavern for the night and cuts loose a little. He meets the Jarl, who tells him to go meet his wizard, who tells him to go to the dungeon we just came from to get a map of dragon graves, which, thank God, he grabbed from the dungeon. Right? Right? Please, God, tell me you took the tablet. Well, let's try that again. This time, Ulk actually grabs the tablet, and from there, meets Jarl Balgruuf again, who gives Ulk some boots, and says to go kill a dragon. Once at the tower, Ulk meets a frightened guard. After he says something, the dragon appears, and the fight begins. Dragons are where this combat truly becomes difficult. Again, mostly because of self-induced difficulty, because of poor fighting form, but still, the dragon's general body shape is hard to land a punch on. Body shape is hard to land a punch on. And after a quick taunt, the dragon falls and Ulk becomes the Dragonborn. Which means nothing to us because we use our fists to resolve our problems. But nonetheless, we head back to the Jarl. He says nothing really of note except to go see some old men hiding on the mountain. But before he does that, he has to get a key item for this playthrough. The Gloves of the Pugilist, which boost unarmed damage. If it actually does in VR, I don't know, but if it does, any advantage helps. Once done, Ulk makes his way up to the Old Man Orgy on High Hrothgar. There they talk about shouting, but Ulk is distracted by the pottery. Then Ulk has to shout and do some mystical wizard biz that ends with a brawl, I think? I can't remember and it's hard to tell. Either way, they send Ulk out on another adventure and another dungeon fetch quest. Ulk quickly handles the enemies outside and in the front room. So that means it's time for some Draugr killing. After outsmarting the spider, there's only one thing left to do. Go get that horn. Which I kept in this fancy room with these big statue things and... well, Where's the horn? That's just great. Just peachy. Hulk makes his way to Riverwood. Makes his way to the Riverwood Inn and requests the attic room. He's told there isn't one, so he just gets a random room where he sleeps, only to be awakened by Delphine standing over him, saying something about dragons and then telling him to go kill another one. Yay. Well, Ulk witnesses the dragon being revived by Alduin, but besides that, killing the dragon. But besides that, nothing really happens. Punch, 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 repeat until the dragon was dead. Delphine gives him the horn so he can get taught some more slurs by the grandpa shouting circle. It was a quick stop that leads him back to Delphine, because she might have some knowledge, I guess. Who knows? And once in Riverwood, Ulk carefully puts the town chicken into the cabbage cart and enters the inn. Once inside, he meets up with his pal Alvor, who thankfully recovered from his fork lobotomy. Then he goes to meet up with Delphine.
Sounds good.
Doesn't last long because, you know, Delphine has another errand to do. This one is more interesting, at least. Ulk has to sneak into the Thalmor embassy, which jumps straight into after giving everything he owns to some random elf in the back of a bar. Turns to Delphine, stark naked, and she gives him some party clothes before he heads off. When he arrives, he meets a fun drunk man, gives his invite to the guard, and gives the guard a friendly little slap before entering the embassy. He's greeted by an elf woman who says some things, which is cool. But it's not why we're here. Well, thanks the staff before going to raid the pantry of all its alcohol, because it does give a stamina boost. Is important, I guess. After retrieving his gear, starts a rampage of the Thalmor. With that over with, Ulk finds some guy in the basement with some important exposition, but is rudely interrupted by some Thalmor soldiers, which, you know, he easily kills, but he also kills Malborn, which I guess isn't a big deal, but let's roll it back anyway and try again. He lives this time, which is good for all those Malborn fans out there. But after Ulk kills the frost troll in the cave on the way out, Malborn just dips. He's gone. We don't see him ever again. Ulk heads back to Riverwood to tell Delphine that the entire mission was pointless because the Thalmor know nothing. Once there, he places the cabbage chicken back in the cabbage cart and tells Dolphin the news. Her reaction is basically just,
Esbern?
then he makes us go get this Esbern guy. But to do so, Ulk heads to Riften, where he's immediately harassed for having money, and then he's called poor, just so he could join some thief gang. Lucky for him, we were told to talk to him, so he gets to keep his face intact. He puts him up to a simple pickpocket job, which Ulk fails miserably because this mountain of a man is like a bull in a china shop, so he's immediately caught, forcing Ulk to serve a prison sentence. But he gets the info he needs to find this old man anyway, so he goes to find him, which goes pretty well. Aside from some ruffians causing a little trouble, Ulk punches his way through. He does find a teeny tiny little chest sitting on a table, but just takes the coins surrounding him and kills this random mentally ill chef guy. He then finds Esbern in his little bunker, trying to say he is an Esbern, but Todd the God Howard clearly has branded him as Esbern, so Ulk doesn't buy it. But Esbern caves after mentioning Delphine. Once he knows he could go meet her, we leave, kill some Thalmor, cabbage the chicken, and reunite these members of the Forged in Fire History channel. You get it, because that show is about making blade. Once they are done chatting, Ulk is told, meet them near this place called Alduin's Wall. Ulk once again takes most of the alcohol in the building. To get into this Alduin's Wall place, he has to clear a ton of Forsworn from the area. Once inside the temple, Ulk has his hand held through the entire thing. Because, I guess, he just looks like the type who doesn't have basic pattern recognition. Because to get through, all you have to do is follow an image that translates directly to Dragonborn.
At the entrance, Ulk has to perform a blood ritual so that the giant head door opens. He does it, goes in, and grabs some new armor because his old rags weren't cutting it anymore.
But Ulk takes a seat as Esbern goes on a bit of a ramble about like World War II weaponry and how spicy Germans would have won if the US hadn't gotten involved or something similar. Cell phone ends his presentation by sending us to the Gaybeards, where they tell Ulk that he has to climb to the top of their mountain to meet their master. The climb to the summit is easy. Clear the skies, kill a few wraiths. At the top, we meet Parthenax, who just says, sorry, I can't help you, but you could rip open the space-time continuum to learn the shout that basically just causes a dragon to land, and not much else. You know, a bow and arrow could do more work, but all that aside, Ulk heads out straight into some random iceberg, and coincidentally finds just the guy who knows where the Elder Scroll is, which he needs to open the space-time continuum. To find it, he has to temple run through a dwarven ruin full of crackheads, robots, rats, and Falmer. Killing only those he has to, just because it would take ages to punch his way through this place, since he still doesn't know how to properly fight. More on that later. At the end, he finds a simple puzzle, I guess. I have no idea how to solve it. Besides, once he solves it, he grabs the Elden Ring and rushes back to Parthenax, where Ulk takes a look and opens a window to the past. The ancient warriors take 5 minutes to bicker about nothing really in particular, and then uses the shout to bring the dragons to the ground. The moment Ulk learns that Alduin appears and begins our showdown. You know, it could have showed up 5 minutes earlier and killed him, but it is what it is. And the fight begins. Let's get ready to rumble! Ulk goes in with a good 1-2 punch. He hits him with a right hook, then a left hook, and another, and another, and another. This really takes some time, don't it, Mirror Me? I'm not Mirror You. I'm Bill. I'm his understudy. Gosh. Didn't expect the 9mm bullet to the brain to be so damaging. Kids these days, I swear. Snowflakes, a lot of them. Well, anyway, there's a lot of shouting. And it isn't your fault, Timmy. Mommy and Dad just don't love each other anymore, and that's okay. You're gonna get 2 Christmases. With a few more good punches, Alduin's out. He forfeits. He's still standing, but he quits. And he flees from battle. With that match over, Parthenax tells Ulk to go to Whiterun to use the wooden keep to catch a dragon that breathes fire to find out where Alderman went. But Jarl Balgruuf doesn't want to capture a dragon for whatever reason in his wooden house, because it leaves him vulnerable to attack from the Imperials or Stormcloaks. So, it's time for some diplomacy. Or, basically the world's worst, most convoluted Civ 6 trade, where after some fair and equal trading, they agreed to not invade Jarl Balgruuf for all of 5 minutes it takes to capture a dragon and leave. The dragon says Alduin's hiding in his little secret clubhouse that happens to have the gate to the Great Value version of Valhalla. So Ulk hops on the dragon's back and begins the final dungeon crawl before the end. But before we get too far, at this point is where Ulk finally learns the true power of the slap technique of combat, making it more like an Eastern European slap competition than boxing or wrestling, but it really wasn't more than a vignette anyway.
But forget about that. Don't worry. Right now, it's time to clear this place.
At the end of this place, there's a dragon priest, who Ulk treats with the civility of a drunken Slavic man, and slaps him into oblivion. And Ulk takes his cool mask and staff before jumping into the portal to heaven. On the other side of the portal, Ulk finds an ancient, magical, misty realm. So he immediately starts bothering the spirits of this ancient realm, and he kills the ghost somehow when trying to save him. I guess sending him to double heaven? Or hell? Double hell? But Ulk quickly moves on. He finds a bridge where this large man, even compared to Ulk, Ulk's a big guy, says he can only pass if Ulk beats him in combat, which Ulk does easily, truly highlighting the power of the slap. Inside this big building across the bridge, Ulk finds mountains of alcohol and takes as much as possible. Once he finishes,
You're on in 3.
well, guess training is over. Time for the main event.
Are you ready for a Skyrim skirmish? In this corner, we have the Draconic Destroyer of Worlds, Alduin. And in the other corner, we have the local creepy drunk tournament, prophesized hero, Mako, Orc, Ulk, Morgan.
Unbelievable fight we have today, folks. Truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Until the next time you play and beat Sky.
You shut the hell up, Bill. Okay? Your job is to sit there and look pretty. Now, let me do my job, and we'll get this over with.
Now, back to the fight. Ulk is really putting in some work out there. With some handy healing, I think he has this fight in the bag. He has truly come far in his fighting career. And it's a knockout. Evil, truly incredible. Alduin is dead. And like that, Hulk is victorious.
These ancient heroes who probably did something. I don't know. Wasn't a lot. Hulk did the heavy lifting, but they come to send him back home. And that's it. It's done. After months of work, better part of a year, and a lot of pain editing this. This is editing me, by the way. Had to completely re-record this audio, so that's fun. If you enjoyed, do the things you're supposed to do with those buttons down below. And I hope you stay tuned for more. See you later.